You are running a session you want to be scary. Maybe it's a Halloween one shot, or maybe you want to do a full horror campaign. You need your players to be on the edge of their seats and feel a sense of dread. Today I want to talk about using your atmosphere to scare your table with 5 tips I have used in past sessions. So the first tip, and maybe the easiest one on here, is to darken your room. So turn off your lights and use a smaller light source. It is hard to play in pitch black because players and the DM both need to read. If you're using tablets or laptops, you might be able to get away with playing by screen light. You could also use candles. If you are concerned about having a fire at your table, there are some great electric candle options like this guy that create a good ambiance by putting a orange glow on your face. Some electric candles, like this one, light up for the entire candle. And other ones, if you want more of a realistic feel, only the wick lights up. The TTRPG 10 candles has the GM darken a candle every time someone fails a check. Each time a candle is darkened, the room gets slightly darker until the table is playing by the light of a single T candle. This helps build a lot of tension in the sessions, and I think it's a great way to run a TTRPG. I love 10 candles. I've even used a camping lantern in the past, which could be great, especially depending on the theme of your session. Maybe you could even find a lantern, electric or otherwise, that looks like an old-fashioned lantern. The one that I used had different color options, which was great for showing light from the red moon of the Shadowfell, which is where my session took place. The second thing you can do is play suspenseful music and use sound effects. I've used a lot of video game soundtracks for this. So Silent Hill, Soma, and Hollow Knight are my normal go-to games for setting the atmosphere of a session. The right music can build suspense or set the mood for whatever environment you're entering. Are you playing a sci-fi campaign? You could use the Dead Space soundtrack. Some other suggestions I have heard of are Bloodborne, Amnesia, and Castlevania. There are even playlists out there called Creepy Dungeon Music or Horror Fantasy. If you're running a module like Curse of Strahd, there are even playlists specifically made for that. If you back the Kickstarter for Crooked Moon, there is a soundtrack specifically made for Crooked Moon. In a similar vein, you can use sound effects. My favorite example of effects being used to build suspense is Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. The beating heart in that story can be unnerving and build that tension for the reader. You can feel that character slowly being driven insane by this sound underneath his floorboards. If your players are hiding in a room, you could play the sound of a door opening. When Strahd comes to a house in Curse of Strahd and knocks on the door when the players least suspect it, throw a door knocking sound in there. When your players are walking through a dark forest, play the sounds of howling and growling before enemies show themselves. Make your deaths more gruesome if that is something that your table has decided they are okay with. Maybe a character is choking on their own blood. An NPC, I guess. I do think that brings us to a good point where all of this should be stuff that your players are okay with. Run a session 0, give them consent sheets. Figure out what triggers your players would not be okay with being brought up into the game. I think that's incredibly important. People are there to have fun. They are not there to be traumatized. It is important that you trying to scare your players is not at the expense of the players. Another tip that I really like is be very descriptive. This might be the most important tip. Saying you enter a dark room doesn't evoke emotion and will lead to players saying they have dark vision. Instead, use your senses. Say something like, as the heavy door creaks open, A wave of stagnant, cold air spills into the entryway. The stench of rot and mildew assaults your nostrils. The chamber feels swallowed by the darkness, torchlight only causing shadows to dance in front of you. The hair on your arms and neck stand up, as if warning you of an unseen threat. You could probably say it better than I did, but I think it's a good point where you should try to describe the scene as best as possible. Another great tip, in my opinion, is build up to the threat. Give hints of the danger to come. There might be claw marks along the walls. Trails of blood could line the floors. Messages could be scratched into doors. NPCs could go missing while traveling behind the group. Sounds could echo through hallways from distant rooms. The party could be bombarded with whispers for a quick moment. Whispers that feel like daggers in their mind. Make the players roll their dice without immediately knowing the result. I think this can play really well in a scarier session. And then my last piece of advice here, which this is a much shorter video than I expected it to be, is play with time. Slow down your pacing. Let the players sit in silence while they are deciding what they want to do. A player reaches for a doorknob and it is unnaturally cold. The metal stings their skin, and they need to decide, do they turn the doorknob? Build tension to deter them from lingering on things too long. The walls may be slowly closing in. The temperature might be dropping. Light sources extinguish one by one while they decide what to do. In the darkness, they hear whispers and laughter getting closer each time a light goes out. I hope you guys liked this video and got some good insights on how to make your D&D session real scarier. If you guys have anything that you normally use in these kinds of sessions, let me know in the comments how you normally pull this off. I love hearing tips from the rest of the community. I hope everybody is having a spooky month. If you are interested in other October videos I've done, I have one on my channel from last week for hags in D&D, my favorite D&D villain, and I think one of the scariest fae that you could possibly put into a game. So other than that, guys, I hope everybody's having an amazing day, and until next time, peace.